Hi there, thanks for tuning in. So today I'm going to go over the two most popular contracts in the state of Florida for real estate transactions. Um, One is not better than the other, but I would say they're situationally dependent really on your decision to use either or. The two are the as-is FAR bar and the standard FAR bar. FAR bar stands for Florida Association of Realtors and the Florida Bar. Those are the two entities that came together to produce these contracts. So the main part of where these two contracts differ, the bread and butter or meat and potatoes in it, is the inspection contingency portion of these two. They're very different in that regard. And since basically 17% of terminated contracts are terminated because of the inspection contingency, or the meeting of the minds doesn't happen after the inspection, that is one reason to pay special attention to these two contracts and decide which one is better for your situation, whether you're selling or buying. You want to pick the one that will, um, that behooves you in your situation. So most people know the as is, fairly straightforward. You can walk or depart or cancel the contract at any point during that 15 or 10-day inspection period for any reason. If a rock, you could say, hey, this rock wasn't in the right place in the yard, and you can duck out. It really doesn't matter. You don't even have to give an answer. You can ask you can ask that the blinds are changed from blue to pink. You can ask for basically anything, and the seller, doesn't have that much control over what you can ask for. The standard FAR bar is much different in that respect. You can only ask for repairs on, three categories basically of items. General repairs, which is basically making sure all the major systems of the home are functional and in good stead. WDO, which are basically termites or some other wood-eating fungi, and permits. You want to make sure all the permits have been closed out correctly for the home. And these do come up quite a bit, especially I would say in homes that tend to be older. And with this inspection contingency on the standard FAR bar, those three items, the contract also stipulates a percent of the purchase price or a fixed dollar amount that can go towards the remediation of them. So the seller basically can pick that, or the buyer. That is part of the negotiations before the execution of the contract. As a seller, you can just walk into it and say, okay, I'm only willing to give up 1% of the purchase price. Say it's $300,000, so I'm only willing to go up to $3,000 for any of these remedial actions that they may find out during the inspection. Or you can just say, okay, I'm only willing to give $1,500 towards these remedial actions if something is discovered in the inspection period. So, if you're buying or selling, you want to be strategic in what contract you pick and what it can afford you during the inspection process. So typically, if I'm listing a home that it doesn't have doesn't really have anything wrong with it, it's in good shape, the sellers have maintained it well over the years, then I definitely want to go with the standard FAR bar contract, and here are the reasons why. First off, it helps qualify those buyers that are interested in a home. When you're in a hot seller's market and you could have multiple offers. You're picking between which offer is the strongest, and someone coming in with an as-is offer is kind of showing their stripes there. They're saying, well, I may want to walk within the next 15 days. And to me, that's not a strong offer. After a conversation with the seller, and if, it's basically up to them what contract they want to use or dictate to the buyer. So we usually go with the standard FAR/BAR contract because it just says that the buyer is committed enough to use that strong of a contract. They just can't walk for any reason whatsoever. It also outlines better the rest of the transaction process with that inspection contingency. So you can kind of foresee, okay, I've settled on this contract price, and the lowest it may go is another, who knows, 1,500. So it can make a seller more comfortable on the price that is accepted in the contract, and they can kind of have a better idea of what it may go down to as well during that all-important inspection period. And then also, it won't allow the buyer to walk for just any reason under the sun. And that's important because when you take a property off market, that's an inherent risk. The seller's still, paying for all the carrying costs on the property. You don't want to take it off market for 15 days just so someone can, walk through it and decide, oh, they don't like the looks of it. You want to make sure that it is being taken off market for a serious buyer and who won't jack you around during that inspection period. And again, when both parties have, shall I put this? When the expectations are, laid forth in any transaction, when both parties have more clearer expectations, you can just have a better meeting of the minds too in the process, and I think it does help facilitate a meeting of the minds during that execution of the contract to the closing period. So you can have more agreement between both parties. I've used this when selling a home. I've also used this one when buying a home because I was really interested in the property, and I wanted to make sure, like, when I went through an inspection period, if there were things wrong with the electrical, then I wanted the seller to take care of those things. So I've used it on both ends before. I've also used the as-is. It really just comes down to having a conversation with the agent and seeing what's best for your property and your personal circumstance. So if you have any questions about these, just let me know. Hope you at least took one thing away from this. Thanks.